It's a real worrying Queensland, Doctor.
Oh, it is of concern, and we're very glad that the Queensland government have taken this course, this go hard, go early strategy, which has worked in South Australia when we had the Parafield cluster. I mean, it does seem maybe to some people, strange that we're doing it for one case, but I think we only have to look over at what's happened in the United Kingdom to get an idea of and extrapolate to realise why this is being done, because the risk of this really becoming something that will really outrun sort of testing and tracing capability and then really overwhelming us really is something that is so serious that this needs to happen.
A lot of the concern from people in Queensland and other parts of Australia is Queensland equipped to handle it. Very good at closing the borders, but some of the testing hasn't been up to scratch. Like there's been 4,000 tests done, 3,000 tests done. Last weekend, people were pushed back from hospitals saying, come back tomorrow. So there hasn't been a great track record internally.
Well, I mean, I think that's why you have to go to your other line of defence, which is to stop movement. And that's why you're having this 3-day lockdown. And the 3-day lockdown is to essentially catch up on that if that needs to happen. But I think just as much to try and get on top of the contact tracing, because at the moment, my understanding is that this individual, we're looking at least 70 contacts, but we're talking also about a huge number of places that this individual has been, which are high risk. And we're talking about somebody who's essentially a potential puffing billy for this COVID virus, and therefore this could get out of control very quickly. So that's why you have to pull your other lever, which is to stop movement, and that's why the 3-day movement gives some breathing space to make further decisions as you go along.
Isn't this highlighting a fact that a lot of epidemiologists have been trying to make recently, that it's less about putting massive borders and 1,000 police and security staff stopping people moving through state to state? It's more about concentrating, locking down on these areas which are of greater risk, and that is people coming in from overseas, because that's the only place it's coming from at the moment. And so much resources going to border shutting where there should be more of a national approach. That's what many are saying.
Well, hotel quarantine is your first line of defence. And, this new strain is really highlighting the fact that even though we've done very well with the large numbers that have come back, that it takes one person to break out of it to suddenly lead to a major crisis, which is happening now. And so that's why there have been increased standards which have put up. We still need everything else, because we need those, people to be doing the right thing and physically distancing and good hygiene. We need the test and tracing being the last lines of defence to some degree. But I think really this hotel quarantine, you're right, is the first line, and the most effort has to be put there. The flip side is, as I do know that a lot of people say, why don't we just put them into remote areas? Look, there is a problem that the authorities have, which I am understanding behind the scenes, which is really the number of people willing to do it in remote areas and having the resources there. So there is a logistical problem about doing it out in remote areas, which is of a limiting factor to being able to do it away from major centres. But look, the sort of things announced yesterday are welcome, and we need to do absolutely everything to close up and plug in every little hole in this whole system.
There will be time to look back, I know that, but as a national body, are you disappointed? Look, we've handled the COVID-19 pandemic better than most countries, if not all countries around the world, but it has been a real highlight of some of the chest beating of individual states. We've seen a bit of a finger pointing and breakup of that here. What are your thoughts from a medical perspective?
Look, we do want... One of the best things we've done is we have actually shown ourselves, let's get a perspective. As a country, we've done very well, and we have shown ourselves, I think, to be a country that has actually generally worked together. There has been the politicisation of it between states, which is, I think, something that's disappointing. I think, like most things, sports teams, we work better as a team. So can we please ask National Cabinet to continue the good work that they've done? Overall, it has been good. The stuff that occurs in public, all that, the huffing and puffing, let's just forget about that. Let's all work to the national good, because we do need them to do that for us, please.
That's exactly right, isn't it? And that's the central message as a country. We have handled it well, and we need to move together, not as separate states. We're not Queenslanders or Victorians or New South Welshmen. We are Australians first, without being too jingoistic. And it looks like New South Wales has handled the Avalon cluster and various other clusters which have formed as a result of that in Barella pretty well. The thing's under control in New South Wales at the moment.
Look, I'm not quite that confident. I don't think it's all over there, and I don't think we should be even beginning to be complacent about that. I mean, there are still cases popping up at the moment. Look, their contact tracing is gold standard, but it's not completely snuffed out. I think we've got a couple of advantages at the moment, and that is that it is summer and it's probably helpful at the moment. But, you know, we just, even without the UK strain taken into account, we can't rest on our laurels. We need to look at examples like South Korea, who had a much vaunted contact tracing system, to understand that they were doing all right during that sort of summer period, but once winter hit, it was all over. They were gone. So we need to try and snuff it out in Sydney as well, because we need to have this level of control, because, you know, we are going to get to the vaccinations, but that's still something that's not really going to be getting towards anywhere near complete until closer to the third quarter or the end of the year. And until that happens, I don't think we can begin to relax at all.
Yeah, exactly. We can deal with a bit of confidence that 2021 might be a little bit brighter than 2020 with the advent of the Moderna vaccine and AstraZeneca and Pfizer and others. Thankfully, some of the work done by scientists, medical scientists around the world, has been quite extraordinary. We always appreciate your time. Thanks for coming on Weekend Edition.
It's a pleasure.